Welcome to He Vibes, She Dives with Timber Petro and Lady Drasmin, where we talk spirituality, higher magic, and anchoring the new Now Earth timeline. Today, we're going to discover our topic here in the bowl for the next couple of weeks, and we're going to channel what comes through over our brew of ceremonial cacao. Yeah, we're working again with the Mayan cacao. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. If you are new, so glad to have you here. If you are returning, so grateful to have you continuing your journey with us. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, your likes, your shares, your donations in support of us and our channel. We deeply appreciate your presence, and every engagement that you have with us helps us grow. It helps the algorithm so the messages reach more people, and it also shows us that you care about what the hell we're talking about, right? And we love hearing from you. Most of the feedback that we get, let's just be honest, right? It's not all of it is like, oh god, okay, so most of it. So let's serve a cup of this delicious richness.
She makes amazing cacao, by the way, everybody. You guys are all missing out. You don't even know. May I serve you?
Yes, please. As always, you are also invited to join us with a nice hot beverage. So we're going to take a few moments here, drop into breath, take 2-3 cleansing breaths. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Second breath, dropping into the heart, connecting to the present moment. And third breath, fully present, fully here in the now. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
So good.
So good.
And so hot.
It's so freaking hot.
Whew. That's right. We need those fingerprints anyways. It's overrated.
Who cares
All right.
about fingerprints?
So, are you ready?
Well, I picked last week.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was our thing for last week. Let's find out.
Okay. What do we get?
What do we got? What do we got?
Oh, you're going to like this.
Oh, goodness. Oh, boy.
This is going to be an interesting one for today.
Okay, so.
That's some shifting of gears for both of us today. We got this.
So what is our topic?
Shamanism. Boom.
Oh boy, shamanism. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. Let's put this here.
Ooh, good call.
So I need a breath because I've been feeling some rage for the last week and a half, and this word shamanism is definitely one of those words that has been so abused and feeds a lot of the rage that I feel. The abuse of titles, the abuse of power. So I'm gonna breathe, and I'm gonna sip on cacao to soften my heart so my words come out from a place of love, and I would love for you to share what's coming up for you with this topic.
Well, you know, the fascinating thing about this with me is, like, you're the one that knows way more about it than I do, obviously, for many reasons. I know that I have, like, you, and I have another brother at home, and others that have walked and done the journey. And when I hear stories, what you all went through to get to that level, I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, no, thank you. And just so you all know, I've been through my shit. And I go deep, and I go into the dark, and I do the things too. But there's a level that when you work with the real shamans, that it's so intense, and you're so in other dimensions and realms and worlds, and you have to know what you're doing, because otherwise you could bring a lot of harm upon yourself and others. So,
and to the planet.
And so I have so much respect for the real shamans on this planet. And I know, I hear their journeys and I feel it and I honor that.
Mm-hmm.
Not my path,
Mm-hmm.
but I respect and I love it. And I've been in so many ceremonies throughout my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I've met just amazing human beings. But I've also met those that, like what you said, that you're like, they say that they're that, but you're like, no, you got your certificate
Mm-hmm.
on over a weekend retreat,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't count.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to just put a quick note here to the audience. I do not identify as a shaman. I have done extensive training under true shamans, and other people sometimes call me a shaman. And I like to use the word shamanka if someone addresses me as that, because that is the quote-unquote feminine way of saying shaman. And still, I don't call myself that. Other people might identify me as such. I like to call myself a quantum alchemist for two reasons. One, I wasn't born into a lineage of shamans, at least not that I'm aware of. And for two, the word has just been so corrupted that the work that I do is definitely more in that realm of quantum alchemy than it is shamanism. Now, I want to talk about what shamanism means for me, or like my understanding of it. So I'm not going to go into the etymology of the word, because that's not what we're here for. We're not here to give history lessons. We're here to talk about our individual perspectives on this. Little background about me. I met my first shaman teacher, I want to say 8-9 years ago or something. And I met her at a psychedelic conference that I attended. It was my first psychedelic conference. I was very new to spirituality, psychedelics, all these things. And I went to this conference after doing several months of study and research on my own in secret. I was working in the medical field at that time, so very much like the polar opposite, quote unquote, illegal thing to be exploring. So it was done in secret. And I met this woman at this conference, and I was just like so pulled in by her power. Like I swear this woman floated. And I had a beautiful mushroom ceremony at that place. It was my it was my third time journeying with mushrooms. And my experience was out of body. Like I left my body, I was traveling to the stars and cosmos, like I could see everything and everyone around me. My partner who went with me, he got horribly sick. Apparently he had been puking half the night. I was completely unaware. He did not have a good experience. And the next day, when we were talking around circle, one of the attendees, long-term psychedelic users, he's like, wow, the experience that you had, most people don't have until they've been journeying with mushrooms for a few years. So you have some power within you. And then she walked up to me and she said, if you want to come and visit my center and study and learn the ways that I lead a circle and temple and do my shamanic work, you're welcome to. So I leaned into that invitation and I dive more into my journey with her and what all happened in the 8 years that followed in my book, 𝙫𝙞. And in fact, I have a chapter in this book called So You Want to Be a Shaman? So look for that book and get it, because there's a lot of details that I'm not going into now. But fast forward, and through my journey, I spent over a year, just almost 2 years actually, just showing up and shadowing her in the way she ran session, in the way she created medicine. I was just like a silent shadow. I cleaned, I tended the goats and milked them, I cooked meals, I washed her laundry. I did everything to just show up And often I did things that I wasn't even asked to do because I felt like I needed to be there and I needed to learn. And the best way to learn was to be present, to witness, and to actively participate in any role that I could find myself in being of service. And that ultimately led to an invitation to do the 13 moon cycle studies with the Native American school. So I spent 13 months in the Red Moon Path, and I learned about the Native American ways of honoring the spirits, honoring the elders, honoring the ancestors, how to hold energetic space, how to create temple. And then the timeline shifted, and I found myself with another shaman who was practiced in South American and Indian ways of shamanism, which resonated more with my heart because I am Hispanic and Indian. And I received my elder initiation from him. And in that ceremony, this 3-day ceremony that we had in Leavenworth, it was the last time I ate salmon. He had caught Brother Salmon, and he shared us the story of Brother Salmon and how the story of salmon is, the salmon grows upstream or is born upstream, swims downstream, and then has to swim back upstream, and then finds his mate and has babies. And the medicine there is like, we have to return to our roots. And sometimes that journey is very difficult. Most salmon don't make it. And I received my elder name in that ceremony, and that a few weeks after that is when I was starting to go into my vision quests journeys. It was 3 weeks over 3 months. I did not do my vision quest while I was on my bleed, because women naturally are going through a vision quest when they are bleeding. So it was like, I was just basically on a vision quest for like 3 months straight. And I
love that you said that, by the way, for the women out there.
Yes, and this is something that is really important to know. It's like women go through a quote-unquote form of vision quest journey every month when they bleed. And so that's why it's really important for men to come together, and that was the original intention of the sweat lodges, was to bring the men together to go through these intensive purges so that they were in alignment with the women and their cycles. Women would go to the red tent, men would go to the sweat lodges. In the older, back then, before the sweat lodges opened to women. And even now, women on their bleed are not allowed into sweat lodges. There's some tribes that are a little more open about it now, but Lakota is very strict. I had the blessing of attending a sweat lodge recently, but I was on my bleed, and I was still invited to tend fire, which is a high honor to tend the fire at a sweat lodge, and it was a completely different experience. I digress. So I went on this vision quest journey for 3 years, and I didn't know the word shaman. I even though like I sat with this woman who called herself a shaman, like it never registered for me, like this word. For me, she was just an elder and a teacher, and she had wisdoms that my soul felt called to. But it wasn't until I met the masculine elder that the word shaman became a reality in my life. And so I didn't know that I was on this path of shamanism. I didn't know what I was getting into. I was just like, this is where I feel called. And after I went through my vision quest journeys, and that took 3 years to integrate all of those messages that came through, that cracked open past lives where I have been a shaman. And so I started integrating those wisdoms into this life. So a lot of what I know is from past lives as an elder, as a shaman, and it's also like training and teachings that I have received in this lifetime from the Native American shaman, and then the South American, Asian, Indian shaman, Chivo, Brother Chivo, who has sat with many swamis in India. So that's my background of like how I came into the path of shamanism. But again, like I didn't actively seek it; it found me. And that's something really important to make note of, is you don't apply for the job of shaman. The job of shaman will call to you, and then you still have a choice to answer it or not. And what I have found, and the line in my book that I close with, is the difference. I say something to the effect of, we're all shamans, because a shaman is basically a being who is able to tap into the multidimensionality of the many worlds that exist simultaneously in the same plane as this human experience. And a shaman is able to tap into these multiple worlds and see the multiple possibilities that exist and choose the highest timeline, not just for self, but for everyone. It's about standing in integrity, even if that means that nobody else understands what you're doing or why you're doing. It's about having this level of devotion and, for lack of a better word, perfectionism in your life, that your values, your practices, the way you live your life, and this isn't just about like temple, like shamanism is about your everyday way of being, how you take care of your home, how you treat other people, how you treat life, how you treat trees, how you treat your trash, right? Everything becomes this absolute presence and practice of unconditional love, that there is absolutely no room for hatred. Hatred is not a word that exists in the shamanism world, because we see that everything is interconnected and everything has a role to play and everything is sacred in its place where it is. And so shamanism isn't just something that you ring a bell and then you're in temple like a yogini devotee or even a dakini, which is another conversation. It's like service to humanity through the vessel of self. You become the channel for the divine. The divine speaks and moves and works through you. And I talk about how I don't really identify with that because I don't practice the Native American traditions that I was taught. I don't practice the South American traditions that I was taught. I don't practice the Indian traditions that I was taught. I have created my own infusion of practices that goes beyond shamanism.
If I may ask you, do you feel that that's the way shamanism will start to transcend moving forward? Because things have shifted and changed so much in today's times versus 20 years, 100 years ago.
I feel that, yes, I feel that there is a place still for shamans of the world, but I feel like we're definitely entering this timeline now of empowered sovereignty, where we are now all responsible for ourselves. We are now all responsible for our karma, which is clearing our debt. We are all responsible for our dharma, which is cultivating our credit. So that's why I like the word alchemist, because alchemist is the ability to take dense matter, our shadows, our traumas, our challenges, our pain, our difficulty, and turn it into power.
Love that.
And that's what I want to focus on with our world. I don't want to, let me rephrase that. I want to encourage everyone to become their own master. Because when we become our own master, then we're not diluted or disillusioned by someone who comes in with a piece of paper or bells and whistles and say, "Whoo, look at me, I'm the guru, I'm the shaman, I'm the teacher, so like listen to what I have to say." When you step into your own power, then you're able to use discernment and say, "Oh, this is what resonates with my truth, so I want to take that and amplify what I know. And this doesn't really serve me, but I recognize that it's your truth and I can still respect it."
It's beautiful. Well said.
Yeah. So, yeah, I noticed this rising dangerous trend in the last few years of people going to certifications or 3-day workshops, and they learn about shamanic techniques, but they're not actually integrating that, and it takes years. Like it took me 8 years to fully come full circle with becoming the medicine woman that I am today. And I still continue to learn and grow.
Yeah. But what fascinates me about that, it's like you're saying, it's like sitting in ceremony with you and just our connection where like when we work together, I can feel how you hold the container for everybody in the room. You are protecting all the outside dark things coming in. You have it all while you're playing music and drumming and chanting and, or whatever you're doing, And it's fascinating because people in the 3-day workshop, I wonder even if they're even taught that oh, by the way, you are responsible for all the souls
Mm-hmm.
in this room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to know how
Mm-hmm.
to see the
Mhm.
dangers and feel them and
Yes.
protect and know how to put the protective mechanisms
Right.
around.
Right.
So it's like, there's
Yeah.
a big difference.
There's a huge difference, right? And you can, and you know, and this is what I've learned over the years. The lion walks into the room and he doesn't start roaring and flinging his mane around and say, "Rawr, I'm a lion." You know, you just feel the energy and the power. And I feel like with shamans, with quantum master alchemists, with high magicians, you can feel their power when they walk into a room. You can feel the integrity of the containers that they hold. I cannot tell you how many ayahuasca ceremonies I've been invited to outside of the Amazon, and I'm like, no, because I can feel the leaks in that lack of embodied integration and awareness. And that's really, I'm really glad that you brought that up, of like responsibility, because you know, the person who is holding and facilitating a container, especially a container that involves healing work, that involves the energetics, which any and all healing work does, there's responsibility not just for the container itself, but for the preparation of that and the integration after. And that is a big thing that is missing in a lot of circles and retreats that are popping up like weeds all over the place. And the space that I have here, the Soul Salon, where we're recording out of today, has a room that I offer. You know, I offer this room for 3 days for journeys. Day 1, prep. Day 2, journey. Day 3, integration. I provide all the meals. I provide energetic dreaming support. And I have refused to offer medicine journeys until I had the space. And it took me 6 years to align this space. So countless times I have been given mushrooms, I have been given DMT, I have been given ayahuasca, and I've been told, here is medicine so that you can serve, because we can see that you know how to do this. And I'm still holding all of this medicine. I have carried this medicine across states for the last several years, honoring the medicines and trusting that when the space shows up, which now it has, and I have a space to honor the entire journey, then I can be in reverence and honor, because like you said, we are responsible for the souls that are showing up.
Yeah. And I'll share my own experience.
Please.
Because this is just a small example, but when we did our ceremony together.
And for those of you, you know, who are tuning in, we did a ceremony on solstice a few months ago, and we infused cannabis and other plant medicines into the ceremony. It was our first ceremony co-facilitating.
Yes. And while she did the drumming and trance, I was doing energy healing. And I haven't done a group energy healing, like a group. I've always done energy healing on one-on-one, but not like a group. So I learned some lessons from this. That's part of it, though.
We can only learn by showing up and practicing, but we have to show up and practice under the wing of someone who is integrated and embodied.
Exactly. Because after we did this, I already knew that I was going to be helping you in the dream time with all that you did. Because we co-facilitated, I knew my soul. And I was telling you, I woke up one day and I was like, I had bruises from the dream time and stuff. And then you were like, oh, it's because you need to grid and do this. And you educated me on what I need to do to protect myself for when I am entering those stages. And I share this because, you know, it's like, I'm not new to this, but I have so much to learn still. And I'm grateful to have that education, but I also don't say I'm this or this, you know. It's having a humble heart where you just naturally want to serve and help others, and be willing to learn, so that you don't hurt anybody.
I love that you brought up the humble piece, because that is, you know, if you're thinking like, well, what signs do I look for if I'm wanting to work with a shaman? Well, first of all, trust your intuition, right? But if your intuition's all fucked up because you've got trauma and you've got stuff that you haven't worked through, look at their lives. Look at how they talk about other people. Look at how they treat what might be considered lesser, like the garbage, right? Or the person that cuts them off. or just like a stressful fucking day in the human experience. Like how do they handle that? There's a side of shamanism that isn't talked about, and it's like people only see 10% of what shamans do. We don't get a day off. Ever since I committed and I devoted and I took my vows on this path, I don't have a day off. I am always active in dream space. And this is something that I offer to my clients with all my sessions, is you have me as an energetic guardian, so to speak, in dream space for 48 to 72 hours after a session that I do with them, because I am like taking responsibility for them, like a surgeon.
Yes.
You know, I'm like a soul surgeon. And I love that you brought that piece up, because that is something that I've also noticed, like a lot of places that do shamanic offerings will create an altar and then take the altar down. And like that energy needs to be grounded somehow. And when the altar is broken because, you know, they're just passing through town and not really giving reverence to like the pre-op and the post-op. Like think about when you have surgery at a hospital, right? You have a pre-op. They have you not eat for a certain amount of time. Would you argue with the surgeon? No, you fucking would just do what they say because you're paying thousands of dollars for it. So like, this is the conversation to continue having around like really taking soul work seriously and starting to bring back the respect to energy workers, to shamans, to the true light workers and way showers. And you will know who those people are by the humility, by the way you feel safety around them. Over the last few months, as I've had this space here and I continue pouring energy, the highest compliments that I have received is when people say, I feel safe here. I have found pieces of myself here that I didn't even know were there. And that to me is invaluable, because it tells me that all this work that I'm doing in the quantum that I don't get acknowledged for is felt.
Yes.
And that's where the true shamanic aspect comes in. It's that ability to always be present, whether you're in waking state or in dream space.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you shared the behind the scenes, because that's what a lot of people don't get, is what does a day in life look like? What does in reality? You know, because like you said, it's like most people, like they sign up, they go to Amazon, they go to this, and it's just a short period window that they see, but they're not seeing 24/7, 7 days a week.
So what does a day in the life of a shaman look like? So we've been talking about like holding container and then what we do behind the scenes when sessions and ceremonies are over. But what about our personal lives?
Yeah.
Like we are going through constant recalibrations and updates. We get hit with all the cosmic stuff months, weeks, months sometimes before everybody else, so that we can be prepared to hold that container for other people. And that can feel a little bit like crazy making sometimes.
But you know, but we are all very grateful that you all do that.
Thank you.
FYI.
Thank you. And I feel like that's part of this greater healing in the world and the global structure of our human experience that is now being restored, because the unseen is that feminine energy and power. Right? Like I believe we had a conversation recently where you said something to the effect of, I need to know what I'm doing. And I said to you, sometimes you just have to trust it because you trust your power.
Yes.
And that's like the shamanic aspect of it is really, a lot of it is working blind.
Yeah, you're like in the unknown.
You're in the unknown, but you can't have any doubts either, because just one little thought of like, creates a window for a spirit to come in, take over your consciousness, infect somebody in your circle, and then they're getting sick, they're puking, you're fucking losing your shit, you feel drained and exhausted because you just had that one moment of, even if you didn't actually voice it, your frequency dropped, and that's all they need. Because there's a certain like levels of energy where certain energies and shadows cannot, they literally cannot, because it's like way too much light for them. So any kind of anxiety, any kind of doubt, if you've come into contact, like the clothes that you wear, everything can affect and does affect how you bring yourself into session. So I have very specific, that's why shamans and teachers and elders, spiritual leaders, monks, for example, they have very specific clothes that they wear in ceremony and ritual. They don't go grocery shopping with, you know, their tankas and their veils and their malas. You know, sometimes they might, because, you know, we're human and we might need a snack. But for the most part, there's a multi-dimensional process in just the preparation of the vessel to arrive at that point of whatever comes up, I know I'm going to handle it. And if I don't know, I'm going to have guidance, and I'm going to trust that guidance, even if I don't see where the guidance is coming from, because I trust the safety and containers that I've done around myself. It's daily work of toning your chakras. And we're not just talking about the 7 chakras. I'm talking about the 22 chakra body. It's daily practice of journaling, of self-awareness, of mental checkpoints. It's constant awareness of the food that we're eating, right? Modified GMO foods. It weakens the body. If the body is weak, the spirit is going to have a hard time. So it's a constant strengthening and upgrading. And the path of the shaman is that once you start and you really devote to that, you have to keep leveling up. You're in a lifetime commitment of service.
It's a whole different level of the Matrix, taking the red or the blue pill.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
No going back.
You're like Neo.
Yeah. Because I heard this. One of my friends told me that, like, it was fascinating because, like, 1% of human beings will become a shaman. 1% of those will actually make it through the trainings, because a lot of them either go crazy, they end up in the homeless in the streets, or they're like they lose their mind, they get lost in the multi-dimensions and they can't come back.
The nervous system will fracture if you haven't done your trauma work, if you don't have good self-care practices. And I'm not just talking about eating and sleeping and drinking water. I'm talking about like the spiritual meditation. Like when I was going through my shamanic training for 8 years, 2 hours when I wake up, absolute silence. 2 hours in the evening time of just prayer, chanting, devotion, and 2 hours at the end of the day. 6 hours every single day just to tune my vessel. And I'm not talking about like the rituals and ceremonies and the fasts, like 3-day fast. My longest fast was 43 days. You know, like these deep, intensive fasts for purification. And like you shave off your head. I mean, that's not always required, but more often than not, it happens because, you know, we are born with this hair. We come out of the mother's womb, so there's this imprint of our family, multi-generational ancestral trauma that's like held in the hair, and then everybody that touches your hair, you have to get rid of that. You get rid of your house, you get rid of your possessions. You have to, like, for people who read the Bible, it's like the story of Job. You are completely stripped of everything so that you can return to this singular truth that we are spirit in a temporary vessel. And everything just cycles out. And then that's the true practice of non-attachment, right? It's about recognizing that sometimes we have things that belong to us, but mine is a construct of possession. And it doesn't exist in the world of shamanism because nothing really belongs to us.
Right.
So, you know, and that's why I'm really excited about this book, 𝙫, because I go into the deep, intensive work. What did you call it? Spiritual hairballs? The hacking, the hacking of the spiritual hairballs for like 5 fucking years. Talk about these spiritual hairballs for people who don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
I came up with this term spiritual hairballs because I realized it started when I was brushing my teeth, and I was gagging and I felt like I was going to throw up, and I was like, but I realized it's my throat chakra releasing and opening, and I'm literally like, and like eventually I spit and cough it out, but it's like when it does, I can feel that shift, and so I called it spiritual hairball because I felt like.
And what's happening is with these spiritual hairballs, whether it's the throat chakra or any other chakra or really anywhere in the body, it's scar tissue. It's energetic scar tissue that the body processes and turns into phlegm and releases.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't know that.
So
That's awesome.
So like, as you know, the path of shamanism is also about restoring the divine blueprint, right, on earth, being that bridge for people. But that means we have to restore the divine blueprint within ourselves. That means working through our own traumas, not just in this lifetime, but like multiple lives, working through the multi-generational trauma. So like, you do your massage and then you just like feel this phlegm build up and you got to get it out. And if you're living in the mindset of, oh, I'm always sick, oh, I have immunodeficiency response because I'm always sick, you're not allowing yourself to see that there is a higher working here. You're allowing yourself to get caught in the 3D illusion of sickness, which actually doesn't exist when your body is balanced. Sickness is a symptom of the body's imbalance. That's one of the core teachings of shamanism. There's no such thing as sickness. Animals don't get sick. Like all these pets that are getting diabetes and arthritis, it's because they're eating junk food. It's because they're not getting exercise. It's because they're not living in habitats that are for them specifically. They're consuming human foods when they're animals. Animals don't get sick, and if they do, it's because there's like human infection in their colonies. Like if we look at the history of the animal kingdom, right? So another thing about shamanism is looking at life from the perspective of nature and seeing how everything is always in balance. And if something needs to die, then it will die naturally. It's very rare that there's a virus or a parasite that happens in nature, and that's usually because of some kind of human infection.
Yeah. Or like they can go to the jungle and be like, that plant will kill you, that plant will cure that.
Right.
And they always seem to be like not that far from each other.
Because it's called the balance of nature. Nature, I mean, where the hell do you think medications came from? They are synthesized from fucking plants.
Which the FDA is now like, oh no, you can't prove it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a whole other topic.
I know, right?
We won't go there.
We won't go there.
But
yeah.
That being said, like how many times do you go to get Chinese medicines? Like herbs we've been using for over what? 10,000 years?
Yeah.
But the FDA is like, oh no, you can't prove it.
Speaking of Chinese herbs, cannabis used to be one of the top 5 plants that the physicians of the emperor's court would use. Cannabis and hemp. It was one of the top 5.
Interesting.
And they conveniently don't talk about that, right? Because we could have a whole talk about cannabis, and we might. I think it's one of the topics.
It is.
It is one of the topics. So it might come out soon, right?
Yeah.
So like, let's really start thinking about ourselves from logic. And this is another thing that indoctrination and conditioning and marginalization has done. It has stripped the ability to think critically for ourselves.
Agreed.
You know, when you start thinking about, am I eating right? No, I ate like 3 bags of potato chips last night. Oh, maybe that's why my stomach is bloated. You know, we start thinking about this, and this is something that I've learned about my work with shamanism is when my body's in balance, that's when my body starts to shut down. But if I'm staying in my routines and habits and rituals and I'm still purging, and I always say this after people have sessions with me and do ceremonies with me, you may experience flu-like symptoms as you recalibrate, because that's really what it is. Phlegm is the body releasing scar tissue. You know, fever is the body releasing toxins. And what do? We rest. We don't shove pills down our throats and force ourselves to work, because then you're creating more stress in the body.
And I'm currently going through this at this moment. And it's one of those where it's like, I'm not contagious.
Right.
Because it's my own, like exactly what you just said. I'm purging. I just had a situation in life that just jump-started my heart chakra, and everything is just like, ah!
Right.
So I'm purging. And so, but it's a necessity.
Yeah. Change is our only constant, right? And we get to choose how we engage with the ever-changing happenings of our body. I mean, we're not children anymore. We're constantly aging. And how we take care of our bodies now can either accelerate or slow down that aging process.
Yeah. And not to mention the fact that how deep you go with the ancestral healing, as well as past life healing, as well as this lifetime's healing.
Yeah. There's like multiple dimensions of healing that is happening in the world of shamanism that people only perceive. You're coming to a shaman to work on your addictions. You're coming to a shaman to work on your codependency. You're coming to a shaman to work on activating your soul gifts. Great intentions to have. But the work is multi-layered, multi-dimensional, and has to happen simultaneously, is happening simultaneously. And so this is why, like you were saying, you know, many people are called, but few will answer. And even fewer will stick with it. I mean, how many times have you seen news of people, you know, who suddenly denounce tarot cards and suddenly denounce their path and go back to, you know, going to church every Sunday? Because it's fucking hard. It is not easy to stand in integrity and do this work that nobody else can see and nobody else can understand. And they're like, well, why don't you get a regular job? Like, this is more than a job. This is like a work for the human collective.
It is true.
And it's super fucking exhausting. Like, think about when you go through surgery, right? Imagine going through that kind of surgery every single fucking day for years. You're gonna be tired. You're gonna need time to rest. And on top of that, you have family obligations, you've got community obligations, you've got work obligations, you got children, you got fur babies, you got plant babies, you got creative babies. We all have 24 hours in a day. How do we balance and navigate our time? Because I chose to honor the calling the abundant universe has provided for me. Whether I stayed in a car, whether I stayed in a room, whether I stayed in a tent, I've always had my needs provided for me. And I've had to learn how to set some boundaries with spirit of what I am and I'm not willing to accept as I've leveled up and proven my devotion and commitment to the sacred way. But it is not a path for the faint of heart because it's lonely. And a lot of this work happens inside. And even if you're walking alongside with someone, we still have our own path because we've got our own shit to work through.
It's true. That's why I was so grateful when I came here to Oregon and I met you, because I was constantly being like, I think I'm fucking crazy. I am officially losing my shit. Because I'm in realms of the unknown and things I can't explain to people. It's just so overwhelming. And you're like, oh, and you just hug me and you're like, and you're able to like remind me that where I'm at. You're able to see where I'm at and you're able to like remind me that I'm not alone. That, you know, we're connected and we can help each other. And
you're just as sane as me, Timber.
Yes. Yes. But it was a gift for me because I was literally on the edge of almost walking away from all spirituality because I was just like, like you said, it's a lot.
And let's talk about like why is this happening, right? Like why are there more people awakening to their spiritual gifts and not having a foundation for it? And the short answer that comes to mind that might be triggering for some is appropriation. A lot of teachings have been appropriated from their traditional cultures without a deep understanding of the foundational work that is needed for that. For example, yoga. Okay? As an Indian woman, I have the right to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about it briefly, even though it's not in the topic of shamanism, because it is connected. You know, there's all of these teachers of yoga, and especially Kundalini yoga. Like, Kundalini is our source power. And I cannot tell you how many people I've met who have gone to a Kundalini workshop and their lives are fucking falling apart and they don't understand why. It's because they have had their God power literally open like a furnace, but they don't have the container for it.
Yes.
And shamans are supposed to come and help repair that. But if everybody is just walking around with leaky containers, we're working overtime. We're not getting paid overtime. It's not like we clock in and 9 to 5 and get, $30 an hour and then clock out and we're off duty. because this energy of fracture is affecting the entire collective. And so we're seeing a rise in mental crises because there's a lot of fractured energy. And this fractured energy is allowing entities to come in and infect and take over the bodies of those who are severely traumatized and don't have enough self-awareness. And so they're having like simultaneously shamanic experiences of seeing the God realm and experiences of seeing demons, and it's making them fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as a side note, any of you that are like, oh, Kundalini sounds awesome, just so you know, you have to be prepared for your whole life to go completely 360 and lose pretty much everything you've ever thought about yourself and everything around you.
Yeah, and this is, I'm not...
So that needs the teaching. That needs, like you said, you need that support, not just like a weekend and then be like, okay, good luck.
Yeah, like yoga is a practice of like mastering breath in the body, right? It's not about the fancy poses. It's not about the clothes you wear. Like the word yoga pants really pisses me off, but there's not a better word for it because it's still right. But the point is like, you know, like you wouldn't take a baby and just put them in a college classroom.
That's a great analogy.
And that's basically what you're doing if you just go to an Aya ceremony or go to a Kundalini yoga class or go to any kind of like, or even like a Reiki workshop, right? But you haven't gone through your training wheels.
That's a great analogy.
Of like learning anatomy and physiology before you learn about energy. Like you like, we are physical beings first, right? And then we have a circulatory system, and then we have like a digestive system, and then we have an immune system, and then we have a nervous system, and then we have an energy system. Like there's all of these systems inside of us that need tending and attention and learning about. And yoga is the practice of learning how to master breath in every single one of these elements within our body. And then the breath will guide you into the pose that is needed to bring you into greater alignment. So I know I went a little on a tangent there with the Kundalini yoga, but that's the clearest example I could think of.
That's a good example.
And I had somebody that I worked with for 4 years, and I went to a party with this person, and there were all these other people there, and this young, I'm gonna say white because that is one of the big things. There's a lot of white appropriation. I'm not like singling out all white people because it's not all white people. There's a lot of like mixed color people as well who are appropriating each other's cultures. And we're at a party. We're not even in like a circle. And this girl's like, here, let me do energy work for you. And she was doing energy work, and because she didn't know what she was doing, she activated this woman's Kundalini energy. And as a shaman, since we're using that word right now, my responsibility is to like step in. I'm like an emergency responder, because these are my vows. Like I've taken vows to protect the energy systems of the earth in wherever I'm at. So I stepped in and I helped, seal that in. But this sister, 4 years later, is still recovering from that. She is still recovering from that. And the other woman, I attempted to communicate with her, no response. Just completely ghosted.
Which again, humility. As I will say this, as a healer, I am always open to learn more, to expand, and to be like, to set my ego aside so that I can learn.
Thank you.
But yeah, so it's important. So everyone out there that you identify as an energy healer or any kind of healer, I highly suggest you connect with those that can really help teach you how to hold space and how to be aware of all those things so you don't come across those situations and you don't accidentally really hurt someone.
Yeah, because you're creating more work. You're adding more trauma into an already severely traumatized and quote-unquote broken world. Although in shamanic realms, we don't really see anyone as broken, which is to a degree true. Our spirits are whole, but our nervous systems are fucking broken. The nervous system, the energy system of the earth is fucking broken by the pillaging of the temples, by raping of the planet and the taking out of giant crystals and stones that never should have been removed, creating this big fucking vacuum that's creating energy leaks. And then we look at the world and we wonder, why is there so much addiction? Why is there so much mental chaos? Why is there, so much cancer? Why is there so much war and hatred? It's because you are fucking with the energy system and the ley lines of the planet, and that's affecting us, and we're not taking care of ourselves, so we can't be aware of that, and we are in a symbiotic relationship.
And I have to say this because it's part of that is we know who is responsible for all that. We have the dark beings.
And while we know who's responsible for that, we got to bring that response ability, the ability to respond within ourselves. Where do you buy your crystals? Where do you buy your sacred tools? Where do you invest and vote with your time, your energy, and your money? Are you the problem or are you the solution? Because there's no in between. And so for people who are like, the path of shamanism is really interesting, or the path of shamanism is really scary, or the path of spirituality is really just fucking weird, break it down. What are your values? And focus on that. Instead of focusing on what someone else can do for you, what can you do for yourself first? Because that's ultimately like where the path of the shaman starts, is self-mastery and bringing that in. And through the embodiment of mastery of self, then you attract teachers. I was on a path of my own soul healing for a good 8 years before I attracted shamans into my life. I didn't go searching for them. And that makes me think of that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So if you're actively seeking out plant ceremonies and elders and teachers, you're looking for wisdom outside of you instead of working on aligning yourself to the frequency to attract the right teacher.
That is true. Because I always say, if Grandmother Aya wants me to sit with her again, I'll know. I'm not searching for her.
Like, I have Aya here right now, and I'm not going to sit with her because she has been very clear with me that the only way that I am to receive her is in the Amazon, and that hasn't aligned. So trusting that. But I have sat with 5-MeO and the toad medicine. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Bufo.
Yeah, Bufo and other allies to help recalibrate me into my body. So how can we wrap up today's conversation? What advice would you have for someone who is curious about the path of shamanism, or who might be frightened into exploring further because what we've shared is like, oh my God, that sounds really fucking scary?
My advice is to actually find someone who's legitimately a shaman. Don't always trust the internet. Don't trust all the books. Don't trust. Use discernment. Use discernment. Because, and not only that, but again, humility and the ability to learn and to be open to what you may or may not hear. Because you may hear things and you're like, what does that even mean? What are you talking about? That's not even in my realm. But they know, they see. So it's just a matter of just being open but like finding good resources.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing up that discernment and that like doubt. Because something that I didn't share is this first shaman teacher that I had. I was so excited to find this being that like connected with my soul that I ignored all the fucking red flags. And she would even tell me, don't tell anyone where I live, don't tell anyone that you're coming to see me in session. And I perceived, because I had to go through the soul work, that was the right way. If you are being told, don't tell anyone about the work we're doing, red flag, run. And it took me over 2 years before I found out, and I found out in a 5-MeO ceremony that I sat with her and some other people up at Mount Shasta. I sat in the ceremony and I was pulled out of my body, and that was my first meeting with Archangel Metatron, and he showed me how she had been siphoning my energy in dream space for over 2 years. Right. So like, on one hand, she was providing all this wisdom, but I always felt that there was something off, and I didn't trust that because I didn't come with a foundation to her. I was just like most people, going to this workshop, going to that workshop. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm going to trust this teacher. And it took me 3 years to recover that.
That's a great lesson. Thank you for sharing that.
And like, so I know what it's like to be hacked by a being, have my energy field hacked by a being that I consider a teacher. I was raped by my Tantra teacher, and his response when I confronted him was, if I didn't do that, how would you learn? Abuse of power, neglect, isolation are huge red flags. That is not your teacher.
Thank you for those. That's important.
And I go deeper into these experiences in my book, but I felt the need to bring that up because, like you said, discernment. If you feel like something's off, question your teacher or the person you perceive as your teacher. And you will know by their response if they are humble enough to listen and clarify what's coming up for you. Hey, you know, this is what I noticed. Or if they shut you down, or they say, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything. You're my student. If they go they're like bypassing shit, that's a red flag. Because again, that piece of humility comes in. I love questions, and Timber knows this. And everyone who comes to me, anytime that people ask me questions, I will answer them. And if I don't know, I'll just say, you know what? That's a great question, and I'm not sure. Let me meditate on that and come back to you. Because I have gone through these experiences where, yes, I followed the sacred way and I followed my intuition, but I also didn't honor myself because I put that power into someone that I perceived was greater than me instead of being in my own power. And that was part of my training. That was part of my karmic clearing that I needed to do, not just for myself in this life, but for multiple lives where I had given my power away. And so discernment is so important. If you sniff something, if you have doubts, if you have questions, ask your teachers. And how they respond is going to be a big, big revelation of whether they are in alignment for you or not. And talk to other people that these teachers have worked with. Talk to your friends, talk to your elders, talk to people in your life that are in similar frequency, right? Like you wouldn't go to you wouldn't go to the grocery store clerk and ask them about finances, right? So like ask counsel from people that resonate and understand, and get second, third, fourth, fifth opinions, but always return to your own truth. And if you feel your growing edges being pushed, that's a very big difference than feeling unsafe.
Yes. Yes.
Lean into those growing edges, but if you don't feel safe, work on that. Work on that with your teacher. Work on that with someone else. Because I didn't feel safe for years. But because I had given my power away, I didn't feel like I even had the authority or the space to say, I don't feel safe in this, because I was so hungry for knowledge. I was so hungry to be of service. I was so hungry to step into my power and purpose. And that's something that I notice a lot. People are like so hungry to discover their purpose. What is my fucking purpose? I mean, even Shakespeare talks about it, right? Like, what am I? What is the quintessence of man? Like, we are all searching for a purpose. And sometimes we can get so lost in that pursuit of passionate purpose that we ignore those red flags.
It's true.
That we don't question, that we get scared to question the quote-unquote authority. But that's, look at the fucking world stage, right? Look at what not questioning and not allowing us to step into those growing edges has done for the world. It's created chaos and shit that we're now all as a collective cleaning up. Whether it's our problem or not, it's a we problem.
It is. It is.
It's still tender to talk about like those experiences, but I'm glad that we're having this conversation because it felt very lonely and very crazy. And what sucked is when I went to the Native American church and I reported her, they didn't do anything about it. As far as I know. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but I haven't heard feedback. And that's really crappy. Like, we need to hold ourselves accountable, and we need to hold our leaders and our elders and our teachers accountable, because yes, they may have gone through more training and they may be quote unquote further along the path, but we're all in this human experience together. And that's, again, comes back to that piece of humility of, yes, I might be the teacher, but I'm also the student, because the only way I can become a better teacher is by knowing how to be in the seat of student.
I love that. I just want to thank you for your vulnerability, and your honesty, and authenticity, and just the rawness. Thank you.
I'm glad this topic came up today, because I was feeling energy that clearly needed to go into it. So, yeah, the divine truly knows.
Truths.
Yeah.
Well, shall we?
So, the path calls you. Lean in. And if it gets too much, remember, you have free will to say, not in this life, to choose a different path. And that is okay. But if you do choose to commit to the path of shamanism, medicine man or woman, quantum alchemist, high magician, recognize that you are entering a contract with life, with source. And it's a bond that strengthens over time, and that has to be honored every breath.
Thank you for that. Thanks for
That's
the
my
wisdom.
That's my P's and Q's. P's and Q's. P's and questions.
I love it. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you,
For
everyone.
sitting with us.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in next week for Timber's unique perspective on shamanism, and he's probably going to dive more into his specific way of showing up as an energy healer, which is infusing some shamanic practices, but he has his own medicines.
Yeah, because I go by mystic, because I was like,
right,
mystic wizard feels more to me than a lot of things.
Right, so I'm looking forward to seeing Timber's talk on shamanism, but his unique way of embodying that, which is as a mystic. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you my unique perspectives 3 weeks from now on quantum alchemy, and dive deeper into what that looks like for me.
I can't wait.
Right,
We'll see if that rage comes up again.
It's gonna come up. I can feel it, because part of being an alchemist is like working with both the shadow and the light, and I work very much with the shadow energies. So I even have a book, Shadow Alchemy, that I co-authored in 2024 that became an international bestseller on day one. So tune in next week for his unique perspectives. The following week will be my unique perspectives, branching further away from the topic into how we show up. And then we both will see you for a new topic over another pod of the delicious ceremonial medicina cacao in 3 weeks.
Heck yeah, as we endure the whole new 5D realm.
We are integrating 5D in the human experience. We don't get to escape the 3D once we get into 5D. We integrate the 5D, and that's where a lot of
Here we go.
That's where the true work happens. It's so easy to like disappear into a cave and meditate and pray, but the true practice of our soul work happens in the mirror of relating.
True that.
And the continued pouring into relationships and sustaining that. So exciting to continue growing this beautiful relationship with you. So grateful to have you join us. Thank you again for being here today. Let's take 3 deep breaths in to fully let all those messages settle into the body. Two breaths to come back into full presence with the I am sovereign self. And one final sweet breath to return to this here now present moment. Love and blessings, everyone.
Gratitude. Mahalo.